I went to Bastyr University. I graduated in 1986. I was the only African American in the school at that time. And it was a very, very, very difficult period for me because I'm essentially a social scientist. I have a PhD in sociology and criminology. And I took that route for a while and realized that that was not life-giving. So I decided to do something differently, and I was tired all the time. I had a very, what do I want to say, stressful job. I was a special assistant to Patricia Roberts Harris, who was the first African American in a presidential cabinet, President Carter. And I was a special assistant for urban development and urban policy. And I knew I worked a lot, but I felt that there was something else I needed to do. And so I went to a naturopathic physician in New York. And the very first day he told me, you should be a naturopathic physician. And I said, excuse me, sir, just give me some of those bat feathers or whatever you boil up in the back room, and I'm going to go back to Washington, D.C., because I had no intention of going back to school for another 4 years. But every month, I saw the change in my body, in my skin, because I was 30 pounds overweight, a face full of acne, and tired all the time. And I was only 29. And I thought, this is not going to be cute when I'm 70. So now I know that I'm cuter than I was when I was 29. For many reasons, historically and currently, the inadequate or non-existent healthcare in the continent, the preference for medicinal plants is also because of the familiarity and because the healer offers counseling and talks about the whole person and looks at the whole person, not just the symptoms. Just as naturopaths and homeopaths investigate the cause of illness with the focus on a patient's lifestyle, habits, stress, and relationships, African healers consider the environment, the family, the circumstances, the stress. They pursue the cause. They are often known to each other and, of course, may often be living in the same village. But the fear was so great that they ultimately decided that Blacks could not be a part of this herbal be a part of the herbal movement. This was also a time that the Thompsonian movement, for those of you that remember that in history, African slaves were not just herbalists, however. They also, as I said, were concerned about the spiritual aspects of the slave, what the slave was doing spiritually and what the spirits were, how the spirits were affecting the slaves.
Hi, I am Marc Williams, the Executive Director of Plants and Healers International, and I am an ethnobiologist who studies the people, plant, mushroom, microbe connection and how they interrelate in all sorts of different applications regarding food and medicine and beauty. So looking at this idea of African holistic healing, there are some components that I would like to put out there, which basically is a segue from what I was just sharing. This idea that healing cannot really be separated from these aspects that are often thought of as spiritual or maybe tangential in some modern medicine context, even herbal ones, where you're like thinking about the plants and the compounds, the active constituents, and how they affect various different microbes and various different body systems. That there are these aspects that are really wedded to indigenous practices. So slavery and its role in plant introduction is a fascinating thing that has been relatively understudied, but Judith Carney has really brought a lot of that to light. And In the Shadow of Slavery is a book dedicated to this idea. So slavery and plantation medicine is something that is really fascinating deep dive that I think could really be a talk unto itself, really just touching on it here, but this essential role that slaves played with childcare, both their own children, but also the children of slave masters, and the death rights of people, and also even in the hospitals, although that being a bit of a fraught situation,